Welcome AEPA members. This is Craig Peterson from Nebraska. I've been asked to record a tutorial on the AEPA website. So I just kind of highlight the different aspects of the new website and record this as a resource that you can go back to and utilize at some other point. If you go to www.aepacoop.org, you're going to see the new website. And when this loads, you will see the menu up above, and we're going to start with the About menu and just kind of go through and highlight each section here. But we have our mission statement listed on the mission page and our goals. Somebody probably needs to revisit those to make sure those are updated and the most current, but that was what was migrated over. And again, program advantages just kind of gives you a highlight of the advantages to you, why you would utilize AEPA. So think of this as a public members, school districts, your members looking at this information rather than you as a member state to AEPA. Moving on down, we also have the strategic partner of AESA listed here, and so you can see that information available there and a link to their website. But the key one is your contact. So if you hit contact here, or if you come up above and hit the contact up in the upper right hand corner, it'll take you to the same location. And so once that page loads, you're going to see our executive director listed there, along with the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary that is currently listed. But also you're going to find a link to finding your member state, or finding your state agency, and we'll cover that under, it's also a redundant link up above in your find your state agency listed up in the menu above. But the two links that I do want to definitely highlight on this page are the membership listing and the vendor listing. So the membership listing, if I click on that, it's going to take you to a Google Doc. This doc is shareable and easily updated. You'll notice the last updated link here. So as we edit this, rather than having an Excel file out there that we have to download, update, and then re-upload to the website, we've made it a Google Doc, and so multiple people can come in and make changes to this at one point or at any point. In order to get a copy of this file, if you come up to File and Download as Microsoft Excel, this will allow you to download a copy of it to your desktop and save it for later use. But the latest copy will be on the website listed here. So if I go back, hit my back button, likewise we've done the same thing with the vendor listing. And so if you click on that, it's going to give you an updated list of all the AEPA vendors and the last date that was actually updated. And so you'll see those lists with all the contact information. Again, you can save this by going to File, Download as, and Microsoft Excel. So hit my back button again. The other thing we have on the contact page is just a form, and what I'm going to tell you is if you do not have a member login to the website, and we'll cover that here shortly, or a vendor login to the website, go ahead and fill out this form, and in the message just request a member or a vendor login to the website, because you're going to have access to some additional resources. But this form is also utilized for purposes of the public to actually post and send information to the AEPA organization. That information is currently forwarded to myself, and then I forward that on to the appropriate parties, depending upon what type of communication it is. But Eventually what I'd like to do is just have this forward to the group called Web Communications, which includes George Wilson, Tammy Hurst, myself, and Michelle Selak from Oakland. So we can discuss that at some point and see how that would be forwarded, but currently it's coming to myself, and then I just kind of forward that on. So if you do need an account to access the member page, go ahead and send us a request through this form here. I'll get that, and I'll go ahead and submit a request for a user account. Actually, I'll create the user account for you, and you'll be able to then in turn gain access to the member pages. So that should cover the about information. Then I'll just hop over to the vendors. Under vendors we have bidding information, and this is what's publicly available to your school members. They can go out and grab this information, so anything that was not marked confidential in the previous bid should be available here. Confidential files are going to be only available to members under their member login. So if I come to bidding information, come over to bid 2018, take a look at the 2018 bid. What this is doing is it is loading on the back end those files in Google Drive. And so it has to render these files, and depending upon how many files there are in a folder and how large those files are, then it could take longer to render a certain folder versus others. So I know I've had some members say that it's taking a long time. A lot of this has to do with file efficiency of if these files are large files versus reduced PDF files or something like that. So if you select the bid year that you want to look at, you kind of have to have an idea of what year each bid was done, or each category was done, and then you'll start drilling down into those years. So if I go into 2017, I get a drop down of athletic field lighting, copiers, and so forth. So I can expand each one of these and look at these. So if I want to look at roofing, I click on the down arrow or the arrow, and it's going to render that folder. I get two folders where it says bid responses and bid documents. The bid documents are those that were sent to the vendors to respond with. So if you want the originals, those documents should be in that folder. The vendor responses are going to be under bid responses. I can expand that. Then I can see which vendors were actually made an award, and not necessarily all vendors that were that responded. So then if I go into weatherproofing and expand that out, then I can retrieve those bid documents by tabulation, however they've been organized and sent over to Michelle to actually put on the website. So I can go into each one of these and click on a file, and when I do that, I can either preview the file or I can download that file to my desktop. If I preview it, it's simply going to preview it in my browser as long as it can read that file, and it's going to pull that information up, and so that's available there. If I hit my back button, well, I got to close that, sorry. I can actually download this file to my desktop and save that file if I wanted to. So your schools would have access to those files that are available and open those up by each file. At the time being, there is no way to, the way these files are organized, to actually compress them into a zip file or a compressed file because of the limitations with Google Drive, and so and the size of these files are so large, some of them, that we exceed the limitations there. So they are in singular format. In the future, if we can become proficient about organizing these files, we can combine these files into one PDF possibly and have that PDF available for download, which makes it easier to actually retrieve those then. So that's the vendor information, bid information, and retrieving those files. Also under vendors is the registration and solicitation. So if you have interested vendors that may be interested in responding to a bid, I would have them go up to vendors, vendor registration and solicitations. The steps to register are listed here, and so they can follow those steps. And down below you're going to see information for bids that are currently available. And so as you see right now, there are no bids available, but this is where you would direct those vendors to. The next menu item is Find Your State Agency, and this is something all states should review and make sure the information is correct. But we do have the map that you can select from the hot map, at least here. And so if I click on Nebraska, it's going to pull up the Nebraska information here, provide the logo and all the contact information. If I go back to this page and scroll down, I can also choose the click here for the application if you're interested in becoming a new member of AEPA. So if you have a state that you know that wants to become a member, that application is available here. They can fill this out, send it back, and so it is a form that actually is online, and we'll receive that form and forward that on to George to follow up with. So that is right on the website there. And if I scroll down a little bit further, I get drop downs of each state. So if I take a look at Nebraska again, it's a little quicker information, and I can expand each one of these and look at different states and so forth, and get the contact information. You see the state logo and so forth. Please review this information for each of your states. Make sure it's updated. If it's needing to be updated, let Michelle or myself know, and we can get that updated on the website for you. So that's kind of the finding your state on the website. The next one is purchasing categories, and so this is going to take you into all the different categories that we have available and contracts with or rewards with through AEPA. And so if I scroll down by not selecting any category here, I get a full listing alphabetically of all the vendors that we have listed. But if I want to drill down into, say, a category, and you'll notice each one of these categories does have a number behind that indicating how many contracts or vendors have been awarded for that category. So athletic services, there's been 6. Furniture, there's been 4. So if I click into athletic surfaces, we'll get an updated list of those that are in that category. And likewise, if I want to go back, probably the back button is going to be the easiest for people. I was thinking this was a breadcrumb menu, but it is not. And so I'm going to hit my back button. I can come back to this page and say if I want to look at furniture, I can look at those also. And so you'll see those vendors listed under those categories. If I hit my back button one more time, you'll also notice there will be a page listing. So this first page, we have 2 pages of vendors. So when I scroll to the bottom, I'm not seeing all my vendors. If I scroll back up and select page 2, I'll get the remaining amount of vendors that are available. So that's kind of a highlight of the purchasing categories. And we also have FAQs available. And so the FAQs are really broken down by school, education, and government. So those members that we serve, state agencies, this would be the state memberships, and then vendors. And so for each one of these are clickable. Who is my primary contact at AEPA? If that's something I'm looking for, I can click on that, and that information is provided. Click on how do I become an AEPA vendor, and so that information there is listed. Again, this information came over from the old site, so we may need to have somebody preview these sections and make sure each one of these FAQs is correctly represented as it should be in the new site. So that is the quick overview of the AEPA website as viewing it from the public. But we do have member logins, and then we do also have vendor logins. So that's what I'm going to go into next. So in order to see the membership side, I click AEPA login. I will have to have an account already set up. On this page, if I do not remember my password, and this is imperative for you to do, if you incorrectly log in multiple times, the website does have a firewall built into it, and it will lock you out for 24 hours. And so we've had a number of members that have had that happen. So then you have to wait 24 hours to gain access, or have myself or Michelle or our technical support at Custom Creative unlock your account for you. So please make sure you do remember your passwords and to get in here. So I am going to log in as a test user here, but on this page also, before I do, this is where you can recover your password. And so if I say lost your password, it's going to ask for my email address, and that's where I go ahead and enter my email and say get new password. It's going to send me an email that I have to go and click on the link and then actually reset the password. But I'm not going to go completely through that here, but I'm going to log in as a test account as a member. And when I do that, this is what I should see. This is the member page, state memberships only, not vendors. And so when I log in, I get a menu on the left-hand side that has a lot of the information available. Those AEPA member contacts are available here, as are the vendors, administrative committees, and bid oversight committees. They're all available here. The difference is when I click on these, it does not take me directly into the Google Doc, and so then I can just click download here and have that file available. So that's the contact list. We can go into reporting and cover each one of these, but the reporting essentially is where you're going to find all those forms that we have to submit on a timely basis. So for signed contracts, quarters 1 through 3, and quarter 4, those are the forms that are available. If we need additional forms, we can build those forms in the website fairly easily. We just need to know what information that needs to be collected, and by doing that, we can set a form up like what we've done for the quarter 4 and set this information up. So really it's these headers that we would need to know on the information that needs to be collected and how you want that form to look essentially. So that's very doable, not too hard in the WordPress management software. So that's the reporting form. So when we direct you to submit these documents, that's where you should come and submit those. Notice that, and I think most people have seen this, but when you go into quarters 4, you can save these documents. If you scroll down to the bottom, save and continue for later. The thing is, you do have to remember the URL that is sent to you to continue that editing of that document. So make sure you retain that. It's sent in an email. It'll also provide that information when you click save and continue later here. And so you'll get this URL here that needs to be retained, and it's going to be available for 30 days. So hit the backs, and I'm going to go back to the member page here. Forms. I don't know that with the forms how much we're utilizing these particular forms anymore, but a membership update form, a lot of times this just happens through an email anymore. Vendor partner eval, and so forth. So some of these are dated even, so I'm not sure how much that information is being utilized, so maybe that's something we need to consolidate somewhere else or remove completely. Governing documents are listed here, as is meeting documentation. So this is where you're going to go for each of our meetings during the year and get this information. So again, this is a Google folder that's shared, so when I click on the down arrow, it's going to expand that, it's going to render that folder and refresh it, so I can go back to the executive retreats, either that or the spring or winter meetings, and view that information. Those documents will be shared on the website here then, so you can access them however you need. Go back to my member page. Also, bid documents and bid specifications. If I click into that, it's going to take me into those bid documents. The only difference here is if I look at bid 2017 and click on that, it pulls it up. I do get two listings. I get a confidential, so any of those documents that were marked confidential are placed into a folder for that year, for that vendor. And so this is where you're going to find those confidential listings of documents and so forth. And so you'd have to drill down into each one of these to pull those up. Otherwise, the other folder down below is the same folder that's available on the public website. So that's a little bit redundant, but gives you access to see what's available for each of the different types of documents, confidential and or public. So go back. State mailing ads, that's an old one, so I won't go into there. Marketing materials, though, there's some good information in here to include flyers and logos. So marketing materials for flyer ideas are listed there. There's some letterhead in there. The AEPA logos listed there. And so there's a lot of marketing type materials that you may utilize here. And those are available there. The other ones that I want to highlight is marketing resources, which may be a little bit redundant, and we could look at maybe consolidating these two. But if I go into that one, and it takes a little while to render these files, so that's what it's trying to do, is load all those files from Google and refreshing this page. But again, we have a national brochure here listed, which kind of, again, redundant maybe just a little bit, and so maybe we need to look at reorganizing that. But the meeting minutes for the marketing committee are listed here. We see membership, but then we see the member logos listed here, and if I scroll on down, we'll also see the vendor logos listed. So those are all available. As we get new vendors, we need to get those logos updated from them. So if you're the one receiving those logos, forward those on to Michelle, and we can get those added to the website. And that's just about it, I believe, on the member side. Marketing. The only other thing, you have the contact list, and then there's some other administrative documents listed here to include financials, insurance, disclosure statements, which I think these disclosure statements are a little outdated, and just some other miscellaneous documents that were on the old site. So that's pretty much the member login. To log out of the site, I just come up and point to where it says howdy in my name. I wished I could change that, but that's part of something in WordPress, and then I hit log out. I can edit my profile here, so if I want to change my password, this is where I go and edit my profile, and I'm going to scroll down until I see where it says new password. I can generate a new password, and if that's what I want to utilize, I just update my profile. I'm not going to do that right now. If I don't like the password it generates, I can type in a password that maybe is something that I will remember. And so if maybe something like that, and so then I can update my profile and I'll remember that password, and that'll be the new password. I'm not going to do that at this point, and then I'm going to go ahead and log out. The other side is the vendor, and I'm going to go ahead and log back in as an administrator here, and I get a vendor choice. Disregard all this. This is the management side of the website. So this is what Michelle and myself and Kara have access to and see. So, but I'm going to visit the site here, and it's going to take me over, and I'm also going to get a vendor selection, and this is what a vendor will see. And so again, some of this is probably redundant from the public side. Bid documents, they're going to be able to see those bid documents that are also available on the public side. They're going to be able to see the reports that we submit as members, and so forth. They don't see the aggregate totals of those reports when we submit them, but they see the forms. I can foresee if we go in and continue development with the CRM that we've talked about, and I'm working with Custom Creative on, that this is where vendors will go in and maybe access that CRM. But the marketing materials, again, it's just a duplicate of what the members see. Same way with the marketing resources, so they're seeing these flyer ideas and so forth. If vendors have marketing materials that they would like to share with the states, and they're generic enough that maybe we put them up and make them available to the website, then maybe that's something we can put in here. So, and likewise, marketing resources is kind of that duplicate of what members see, and when that loads, you'll see that they have access to the state logos. And so vendors, you're going to be able to get those logos and download those logos from here. Member logos for each one of the states is listed there, and likewise vendor logos are listed there also. There may be a lot of cleanup on some of these because a lot of this come over from the old Edline site, and so if you see something, let us know. We'll try and get those updated. And then there is a new vendor manual, and so if you're new, a new vendor to AEPA, you may want to look at this manual. You may have already seen it. I think George probably may have sent this, but it is available underneath that, and you can download that and view that. So other than that, this information I believe is only available per vendor, so WTI would only see this, I believe. So you shouldn't see any other vendors then. So and then there's some state reference sheets that specific state members have put together referencing AEPA as some ideas also. So that is really the overview of the website, and if you have questions, you're more than welcome to email myself or Michelle on how something operates. If you have difficulty accessing the website, just remember continued failed login attempts will lock you out of the website for 24 hours, and you will not be able to access it unless you contact one of us. So questions, please send those to us, and we will get the site updated as we can. Thank you.